Did you know that the fate of the modern Middle East wasn't just decided by battles and treaties, but by something far more subtle, debt? For centuries, the Ottoman Empire was a global powerhouse, a sprawling dominion stretching across 3 continents. But by the 19th century, this mighty empire found itself caught in a financial trap, a web of loans spun by European powers, particularly Great Britain. This isn't just a story about money. It's the story of how a financial crisis redrew the map of the world. Let's rewind to the mid-1800s. The Ottoman Empire was facing a perfect storm. It was trying to modernize its military, its administration, and its infrastructure to keep up with the West. These reforms, known as the Tanzimat, were incredibly expensive. At the same time, the Industrial Revolution in Europe was flooding Ottoman markets with cheap, mass-produced goods, crippling local artisans and industries. The old economic model was collapsing, and the treasury was running on fumes. Where could the Sultan turn for cash? The answer came from the bankers of London and Paris. The first major foreign loan was taken out in 1854 to finance the Crimean War, where the Ottomans fought alongside Britain and France against Russia. It seemed like a good deal at the time, allies helping allies. This loan opened the floodgates. Throughout the 1850s and 60s, the Ottoman government went on a borrowing spree. They built palaces, railways, and telegraph lines, all with borrowed European money. On the surface, it looked like progress, but under the surface, a disaster was brewing. Here's how the trap worked. Each new loan came with high interest rates and unfavorable terms. To pay the interest on the old loans, the Ottomans had to take out new, even more expensive ones. It was a classic debt spiral. European bankers were more than happy to oblige, seeing a golden opportunity. They weren't just lending money, they were buying influence. By the 1870s, over half of the Ottoman Empire's annual revenue was being used just to service its foreign debt. The situation was unsustainable. The breaking point came in 1875. The Ottoman government, unable to make its payments, declared a sovereign default. It was a financial catastrophe. But for Britain and France, it was the moment they'd been waiting for. They didn't send armies, not yet, anyway. Instead, they sent accountants. In 1881, the Ottoman Public Debt Administration, or OPDA, was established. This wasn't an Ottoman institution. It was an organization controlled directly by its European creditors. Its board was staffed by representatives from Britain, France, Germany, and other European nations. Their mission was simple: to take control of the Ottoman Empire's finances to ensure the debts were repaid. The OPDA was essentially a state within a state. It was granted the power to collect some of the empire's most important taxes directly: taxes on salt, silk, stamps, spirits, and even the fish caught in Ottoman waters. This revenue didn't go to fund Ottoman schools or hospitals. It went straight into the pockets of European bondholders. The OPDA took control of customs duties and parts of the state-owned tobacco and railway monopolies. In effect, the economic sovereignty of the Ottoman Empire was gone. The Sultan still sat on the throne, but the real power over the economy was held by a group of foreign bankers in Istanbul. This economic control had massive political consequences. Britain, as the primary creditor, now had unprecedented leverage. When they wanted a railway concession, a port facility, or a political favor, the indebted Ottoman government had little choice but to agree. For example, British influence was crucial in securing control over Egypt in 1882, officially still an Ottoman province, and later in gaining a strategic foothold in Cyprus. They weren't just collecting interest, they were collecting pieces of an empire. Think about it from Britain's perspective. For centuries, their main geopolitical goal was to protect the sea routes to India, the crown jewel of their empire. The Ottoman lands, which included the Suez Canal and the overland routes to the Persian Gulf, were directly in the way. A strong, independent Ottoman Empire could be a threat. A weak, indebted Ottoman Empire, on the other hand, could be controlled and manipulated to serve British interests. That was a far cheaper and more effective tool of imperialism than outright conquest. This situation continued right up until World War I. When the war broke out, the Ottoman Empire, seeking to break free from British and French control, made the fateful decision to ally with Germany. For Britain, this was the final justification to dismantle the empire they had been financially colonizing for decades. After the war, the victorious powers, led by Britain and France, carved up the former Ottoman territories. The Sykes-Picot Agreement, a secret plan drawn up during the war, became the blueprint for the modern Middle East. New countries were created: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan. Palestine with borders drawn by European diplomats, often with little regard for the ethnic, religious, and tribal realities on the ground. And what did Britain get? They secured control over the most strategic territories, Palestine, Jordan, and Iraq, which just so happened to be sitting on vast, newly discovered reserves of oil. The British government even became the majority shareholder in the Turkish Petroleum Company, which would later become the Iraq Petroleum Company, giving them direct control over the region's black gold. The financial takeover that began with loans in the 1850s had culminated in total political and economic domination by the 1920s. The story of the Ottoman debt trap is a powerful lesson in how finance can be weaponized. It shows that empire building isn't always about guns and flags. It can be about interest rates and repayment schedules. The legacy of these decisions is still with us today. Many of the conflicts and political instabilities that have plagued the Middle East for the past century can be traced back to these artificial borders and the colonial interests that created them. The economic weakness that made the Ottoman Empire vulnerable to foreign debt is a challenge that many developing nations still face. So, the next time you look at a map of the Middle East, remember that its lines were drawn not just with ink, but with debt. It's a sobering reminder that in the great game of geopolitics, the one who holds the purse strings often holds all the cards. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories about how the modern world was made. See you next time.